Starting my videos as usual. Hello guys, this is Nogrul for YouTube and we're live creating this on Twitch together with my lovely chat. We're creating the build guide for my new idea, which is cast while channeling Detonate Dead combined with While Detonate Dead, and we're using the new Incinerate skill gem. The whole thing looks like this. We're starting out as a Scion and we're starting with mana regeneration and intelligence, mainly to be able to grab the area of effect nodes right here, because this build is highly focusing on area damage and area of effect. So we're running up here. While leveling I went these nodes, so I was faster here and at the life zone. Later I respec'd into this zone because then I could pick up explosive impact, which gives you more area of effect as well. So let me show you the total area we got. In total we have 4 clusters, I think. One here, we got the area here, and we got the area here. And also we got some area damage, I think, on one of my jewels. Yeah, that goes with maximum life, area damage and double res right there. So what is most important is we're not using crit and we're still using a spell. So in the end you want to take elemental overload to get a lot of more damage. And also you don't want to take any crit nodes. That's the main reason why I'm passing over Deep Wisdom here, for example. Because every crit node is wasted. You won't scale your damage in any way with that. So what we did is we went into the side of the witch, we picked up more life and picked up all the fire nodes. I started out on Breath of Flame because I wanted to experiment around with Ignite. But the flat fire damage on this helped so much as well that I decided to go for Heart of Flame as well, especially since it has 6% fire resistance penetration. Why that is important, I come to that later. We got some more fire damage right here and burning damage, chance to ignite with Holy Fire. Fire damage right here with explosive impact and the AoE. The entire rest of the build is only AoE and life. AoE, life and fire damage are the main things we're scaling for. At the very end, after I did Uberlap, I started like a secondary thing here at the Shadow to pick up some elemental damage and more life and more elemental damage and more life, and I'm going to pick up this life as well for 5 points. And then probably with my last points that I have, I'll go into the Barbarian direction. These points I respect. Not Barbarian, Marauder, I'm sorry guys. With the Marauder direction, Barbarism and Juggernaut, we should be able to get even higher life pool. At the moment we are on 5.5k already though, and we have 640 shield. The only problem with that is our secondary defenses is not very high. We only have 5% fist damage reduction and only 24 on the evasion. So it's sometimes sketchy if you get surrounded. Which what really helps because of that is my boots, because they have these are temple boots. They drop with 30% movement speed and chance to dodge attack in one modifier. That modifier is called Metatals. So if you can try to get a Metatal boots set, because Metatal boots will give you 30% move speed and also 12% chance to dodge attack hits. And that is really valuable if your secondary defenses are as low. So that's something I can tell you will really help. Then as well for jewels, except for only life and area damage, what also helps you a lot is fire damage to spells. So I got jewels that got flat life and fire damage to spells in 1 jewel. And I also got me one of these temple gloves with the mod that is called Puhuartes. That gives you 48% to fire resist and also gives you a huge portion of added fire damage against burning enemies. And practically everything you fight in this build is always a burning enemy. So that's why we have the boots and why we have the gloves. Also, you pick up Celestial Judgment. You would never have done that before because it was just not so good. But right now they buffed the elemental resist penetration from 2% to 5%. So that's the source of another 5% fire resist penetration. Plus there is Celestial Punishment, which will give you another 30% increased burning damage, even more shock and ignite damage against shocked and ignited damage, and since damage against shocked and ignited enemies, sorry guys, but since we're using both Ignite and also Herald of Thunder and some lightning damage, as you can see it's only like 300 or so, but every now and then we're gonna shock, and shocked enemies will also get cursed. Now, for the rest of the item setup, you pretty much hopefully understand the tree so far. The tree is basically only life area, mana, life area, mana, life area, mana, and then fire damage, fire damage, fire damage. Elemental Overload being the only keystone we picked up. It is optional, and you could think about picking up Mind Over Matter if you want to utilize the rest of the mana pool. So far, I did not go with it. Then for the items in the build. I decided to go with the Devoto's Devotion. I bought that for 28 chaos. It has an enchant that has Detonate That with a 45% chance to detonate an additional corpse. This works like this. You plant down your corpses as usual in my build, and I will go like over that when I explain the mechanics better. But if you then hold your cast when channeling down, you can see that sometimes it pops up 2 corpses instead of 1. And that is pretty important, that's pretty nice. It was a huge buff to my solo target damage when I added that. Why Devotos? Mainly because I decided we needed 2 things. One is a bit of dex stat fixing, and the other is additional movement speed, because the only thing hindering us from being faster was that we simply couldn't run as fast. So move speed and dexterity really helped me with the Devotos, and the attack speed is nice because we decided to go for shield charge as a main movement spell. And therefore I went with the attack speed buffed scepter as well. These you can pick up in the temple as well. That mod is Topotantes. Topotantes mod scepter will give you increased fire damage and fire damage to spells in one mob. And you'll be able to also roll additional spell damage or fire damage onto it if you want. For me, I decided to not craft any more damage. I wanted to go with the attack speed for having a better feeling to the shield charge. Just nicer if you are faster. Then we're using a carcass check, and I was pretty lucky that I was able to 6-link that already, because we have like a combo that needs a 6-link. Incinerate, Detonate That, Cast While Channeling, Immolate, Control Destruction and Combustion. My personal idea. I don't think there was a build like this before, because it wouldn't have made sense with the old Incinerate, so I hope that I am the first one to discover this interaction. I'm running Fortify Shield Charge, Blood Magic, Faster Attacks as a movement. I'm running Immortal Core, Cast When Damage Taken and Vortex as a passive. I'm running Desecrate, Spell Cascade and Faster Casting to quickly get 15 corpses. And I'm running Curse on Hit, Herald of Ash, Temporal Chains and Herald of Thunder, of which the Herald of Ash obviously won't proc any curses, but the Herald of Thunder will. So when your Herald of Thunder hits something, it's automatically cursed with Temp Chains, which is nice because it will make the burning damage disappear more slowly. And then we have just a really good belt for fixing your resistance issues if you had any. And on both of my rings, which is probably pretty important, I have additional fire damage as well as resist and life. So I can hardly recommend that you go for that, as well as on my amulet. Like I got as many sources of plus fire damage and plus spell damage as I could. My amulet, for example, I completely did not go for any resists, but therefore had a really high life roll and a spell plus fire damage roll. So yeah, I'm trying to get the base spell damage as high as possible. And now let me show you how this looks in action. So the mechanic of the build I explained entirely. I think the skill setups we have as well. Also we have a double golem, I forgot about that, with minion life and culling strike. Because now let me show you the last part of the tree. We are a Scion Ascendant and we picked up Elementalist and Saboteur. People might ask themselves why Saboteur, because we don't use any traps or mines, but Saboteur gives you also 30% increased area of effect, 6% of enemy elemental resists are penetrated, plus 25% chance to blind enemies on hit. So this here will blind all the enemies you hit, which are basically all the enemies on your screen, right? So this is like a 25% chance to blind, which will like proc all the time and help you a lot on your secondary defenses. So I think Saboteur is really worth it. Also, you'll be able to path from the shadow start and pick yourself up some juicy elemental damage and life in the end game. And for the other optimal ascendancy, in my opinion, Elementalist is the best, because you get another 10% resistance penetration and 40% increased Herald effect, so you can run double Herald and it will be more effective than running Anger, for example. You can run double golem, so you can run a flame and a lightning golem. Both of them will buff your damage heavily, because the cast speed also helps with the Incinerate stage building. And then your shock from hits is always increasing the damage the enemy takes by 10%, no matter how much lightning damage you applied. So Herald of Thunder works really well for that. And yeah, you cannot take any reflected elemental damage, probably being the best. So you can run like pretty much every map that you want without having to take care for that. Now that I basically told you the entire story already, I'm sorry for the long talk, but it's a pretty in-depth build and it took like a lot of thought to compose. I'll show you a run on the Haunted Mansion. Just a blue map tier 5. I could go higher, but right now I don't have the maps yet. This is level 85. I'm hoping to find more yellow maps soon and then we can go higher. Right now the build's entire damage is at 22k, 2 DPS roughly. In Path of Building it says to me that it's like 207k when my enemy is ignited. So, and that is on max stages for the Incinerate. As you can see, for example, we're blowing up stuff pretty fast. If you find a mob group like this, you're just gonna like one wave the Incinerate into it and everything's blowing up, and everything that blows up also ignites bystanding enemies for the overkill damage via Herald of Ash. And as you can see, constantly lightning is coming down. Even though we're not doing a lot of lightning damage, it's enough to constantly keep proccing Herald of Thunder and therefore cursing your enemies. And this is not an Incinerate build though, so the main focus is on using Incinerate to proc your constant explosions of Detonate That without having to self-cast it. And if you have a boss like this, you just gotta press one button and the boss is pretty much down. Because this was a Val Detonate that means it's gonna detonate your 15 corpses in like 1 second, and the boss is dead. So it's pretty good for boss clear as well. In my opinion, it's a really nice build. I think you can play this as a labyrinth runner or a temple runner. I think you can also run maps with it, so it's also very versatile. And the cool thing is really it utilizes 2 of the reworked skills, which is a DD Val DD and also the new Incinerate. And with all the area, it just feels super awesome as well. Let me show you how it handles one of the League Mechanics incursions. So you jump into that, and usually I am able to full clear these. It depends on this one, I don't know if I will be, but usually you are. If it's hardcore weighable, I'm not 100% sure. I'm playing this in softcore right now. In terms of leveling, I died like 20 times while leveling, but since I'm in endgame, I die really rarely. Even though on this stream it was already once. But it is very rarely that I die at the moment usually. So I think you can push it in endgame to be quite survivable, but if you would want to level with it, I cannot guarantee that you will get it to endgame in hardcore, because it's kinda hard to level with it. I'd probably decide to go with like a trapper or setup or something for leveling. And as you can see, we pretty much full cleared the entire thing again. We're able to upgrade the thing, we were able to open a room, no monsters are left. We have still 10 seconds left, so it's very good for these as well. We got an explosive room, that's always nice. It's gonna mean that once we have this temple open, we can burst our way to the boss. So yeah, and the really satisfying thing on this build is the explosions. Like you're just quickly holding down your Incinerate button and everything will die. Like everything is gonna explode. I don't need to do anything more, the rest is gonna do like kill itself. The more you hold your Incinerate button in there, the more stuff will explode. And the Incinerate itself does 20k damage, but still, the main thing is, as I said, like these little explosions going off there. Boom, 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 boom. These are the important thing. Because these explosions are also doing a shit ton of damage against burning enemies, and your Incinerate has a 96% chance to ignite with all the scaling we have. The Corrupted Essence here. Triple Corrupted Essence, no problem. One button, you press your Val Detonate That, it's gone. So I hope you enjoy the build, guys, and thank you very much for watching. This goes out to YouTube. Thank you very much for staying in the background and checking out the build guide as well on Twitch. If there's any questions, you can see me live every day on the channel Twitch TV/Nogrul. And I hope you have a great day, everyone. Thanks a lot and peace out. Okay, thanks guys for being